Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of other weapons for vigilantes. Another writer here says, we've been taxed to fix police vehicle. That's what the residents are saying there. And another story, federal government reviews 14 trade subjects, syllabi decries teachers shortage. I need 35 different visas to travel within Africa. That's what Dangote is saying. Kanu buys 2.7 billion naira vehicles for lawmakers. World leaders react as Iran's president is buried today. Minimum wage, no going back on May the 31st ultimatum. That's what Labour is saying. We'll move now to the Nation newspaper. And the major story there says, federal government releases conditions as student loan scheme begins. Youth in federal institutions get first opportunity. Portal opens Friday. Iran holds memorial for President, Foreign Minister, other crash victims. That's the story there at the downstrip. Labour returns for minimum wage talks. Tripartite committee meets today. Another top corner, state will continue to get electricity regulatory license. And no judge should bow to public opinion, says CJN, why Fubara Wike should end feud now. That's what former President Goodluck Jonathan is saying. All right, we move over to the Punch newspaper. The major story here is still talking about student loan. It says 1.2 million beneficiaries listed as scheme begins Friday. The rider there, students in 226 tertiary institutions to benefit. Admission letter, NIN, BVN needed. Now, world leaders mourn as Iran probes president minister's death. And these are the pictures of some persons wailing and the remains of one of the victims being carried there by soldiers. Another story quickly, Lagos seals 840 event centers. That's what the commissioner said. Tariff hike, workers lockout, minister issue 14-day ultimatum. And the top corner, food imports hit 3 trillion naira over flooding insecurity, CBN. Judges' salaries reviewed 17 years ago, says AGF. Those are some of the stories you find on the front page of the Punch newspaper. To the New Telegraph now. Poor remuneration, Nigerians suffering consequences of the private judiciary. CJN says judges do their best when well compensated. Another story here, Fubara Wike feud, Jonathan calls for ceasefire. Warns crisis may snowball into regional national challenge. Clark asks PDP APC chairman to caution Wike. And another story there, minimum wage labor in system made the 31 deadline ahead today's meeting with federal government. Those are some of the stories you find on the front page of the New Telegraph. To the Leadership newspaper, Chief Justice wants over poor salary for judges. Says Nigerians will bear the brunt. Federal government will not toy with welfare of judiciary, as a response from the minister. Another story, Abuja light rail ready for commercial activities. That's what the minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, is saying. We are not asking federal government for anything new, ASU, responding to the governing council put together by the federal government. Bauchi airlifts 1,221 pilgrims to Saudi Arabia. And at the top corner, U.S. government questions ICC arrest warrant for Netanyahu. Some stories you find on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. To the Nigeria News Direct. Wike Fubara feud, Jonathan calls for ceasefire, says Rivers State unrest will destabilize Niger Delta. As Fubara vows to deliver Trans-Calabari Road before leaving office. Reps accuse agencies of inaccurate revenue remittance, threaten to block accounts. Those are some of the stories you find on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. To the Daily Independent now. Rivers crisis, don't set Niger Delta on fire, Jonathan tells Wike. Fubara urges ceasefire, says they must work for Rivers' interest. And another story quickly here. Oba of Benin accuses EFCC of aiding and abetting crime. Well, this is some of the stories you can find on the front page of the Daily Independent. And finally, with me, the First News newspaper. Jonathan intervenes in Rivers crisis, urges Fubara Wike to end feud for state stability, says one hand does not clap, it takes two hands to clap. Interesting. And that's a picture there of the governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, and the former president of Nigeria, Jonathan, there. Good luck, Jonathan. All right, another story there. Kanu challenges court ruling, blasts government over bail rejection, says, I can't be tried in Nigeria. Supreme Court ruled I didn't jump bail. Some stories there on the front page of the First News newspaper. Ibrahim.
Right, first with me here is the Daily Times with the banner headline. Clark accuses Ganduje Damagum of encouraging Wike to derail democracy in Rivers. And the writer reads, says APC, PDP national chairman collaborating with FCT minister to frustrate Fubara. You're a terrorist. Nnamdi Kanu blasts federal government lawyer in court as court refuses him bail or removal from DSS custody. Nationwide strike looms as Labour gears up for June the 3rd, lists condition to avert industrial crisis. Reps warn cement manufacturers against shunning invitation. ASU wants Tinubu to intervene in its demands. Nigerians will suffer if judges are not well-paid operations. Next is this Nigeria. 300% salary increase proposed for judges. Others, AGF, NJC, RAMFAC, back proposal by National Assembly. Nigerians will suffer injustice if judges are underpaid, says CJN Ariwola. NLC, TVC mobilize CSOs for strike over minimum wage electricity tariff. Give federal government May the 31st deadline to reverse tariff hike. Agree to resume wage negotiations with governments today. FCTA delivering on projects because of Tinubu's support, says Wike. Abuja Metro Rail ready for use May the 27th. And then on the ear of the newspaper, retain 24.75% lending rate. Experts advise CBN. Next is the Vanguard newspaper. Anger, POS, anger, frustration over high cost of cash withdrawals as operators gradually take over banks' ATM function. Customers relate sad experiences in states. Banks sell cash to us, Delta POS operator. And then above the masthead, de-escalate tensions in Rivers. Jonathan appeals to Wike Fubara. EFCC on the fire as Oba of Benin alleges bribery cover-ups. Electricity and minimum wage. That's a kicker, and the headline reads, NLC, TUC mobilized for strike. DMO raises 4.9 trillion naira for Ways and Means securitization. ICANN Accountability Index will enhance management of public funds, Okosa. Well, that's about it for the Vanguard newspaper. Next is the Salient Times. Minimum wage. NLC, TUC mobilize CSOs, others for strike. Give federal government May the 31st deadline to reverse electricity tariff hike. Restate May ending ultimatum on minimum wage. Teacher arrested for beating 8-year-old pupil to coma in Anambra. Uproar in court as Kanu refuses to submit to trial, calls Nigerian government lawyer terrorist. Another 2 beheaded in a Boeing community attack. Only those from federal institutions can access student loan immediately, that's according to federal government. And on the bottom strip, alleged police brutality, women protest in Imo. Bank staff testifies against Mumfa in alleged 6 billion naira money laundering case. Fubara Wike must work together for Rivers people, ex-President Jonathan. Ogun NMA asks Assembly to amend law criminalizing suicide. Next is the Business AM. 1 year on, Naira stability still elusive despite Tinubunomics policy adjustments. Agora policy note. Fundamental economic policy misalignment. And also $47.53 billion experiential marketing up seen for growth seeking Nigerian businesses. And then the Guardian newspaper is next. School feeding of 10 million kids. Federal government in dilemma as inflation spikes meal budgets to 540 billion naira. Federal government has reached 75% of domestic borrowing target for 2024, says DMO. Kwara repatriates beggars allegedly keeping arms for criminals. And then Labour threatened strike issues May the 31st ultimatum for new minimum wage deal. Business Day is the penultimate paper with me here with the main headline, Telco's thirst for local banks grows as loans up 200%. DMO banks on market makers a bigger appetite for 6 trillion naira bond. That's about it for the Business Day newspaper. And last but not least is the Nation Sport Alive. Kano tells Finidi, make Okoye your number one over Nwabali. Says Udinese star is more refined. World Cup qualifiers. Finidi sweats over Onyeka's fitness. How I was sexually molested by my gay coach, Osun footballer. Coach arrested by DSS. Aston Villa enter race for 100 million euros. And also a DME can't switch to Super Eagles. Man United renew interest in Osimhen. Al-Ittihad, talking about big move. Al-Ittihad targeting Mourinho, Allegri. Liverpool confirmed Slots appointments, talking about the Reds' new man. That's about it for the newspapers up for review, and I believe our audience are up to date.
Updated. Well, let's quickly move on now. Coming up on TVC Breakfast, but the government moves to promote Nigeria.